What if a TikTok comment had already exposed David's darkest secret long before police ever opened the trunk of his Tesla? 2 weeks after a tow yard worker complained of a foul stench, LAPD pulled back the lid on an abandoned Tesla and found what looked like a horror movie come to life. Now, fans online had already connected her name to the singer months before the world caught on. And you guys, that stomach-turning TikTok comment is really just the start. If people are connecting the dots right, this story is darker than any nightmare. Let's break it all down. The case broke open in the most brutal way possible, through smell. On September 8th, 2025, workers at a Hollywood tow yard called police after noticing a terrible stench leaking from a Tesla with Texas plates.
That car was a Tesla with Texas plates registered to David. It had been abandoned in the Hollywood Hills and towed.
LAPD officers arrived, popped the trunk, and were hit with a sight so grotesque they could barely process it.
Inside the front trunk, authorities discovered dismembered human remains wrapped in a bag. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner identified the body as Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
Celeste had been missing from Riverside County since April 2024. Now, over a year later, she was found in literal pieces, wrapped in plastic inside a vehicle tied directly to a 20-year-old rising music star, David Anthony Burke, better known as David. The connection couldn't be ignored. Within hours, the LAPD secured a warrant and raided a Hollywood Hills mansion linked to him. Neighbors told reporters the Tesla had been parked outside that home for months, right where this smell first started. TMZ later confirmed the property had been rented by his manager, but David himself had been living there before leaving on tour. LAPD spent more than 12 hours inside, searching for stains, electronics, and any trace of evidence that might connect the singer to Celeste's horrific end. LAPD later confirmed several items of evidence were recovered and will be analyzed by detectives in the coming days. This is an ongoing investigation. They also promised that investigators are following several leads. But that wasn't all. On the same day as the raid, his US tour was suddenly canceled. Days later, the global dates vanished too. It was the first crack in a career that seemed unstoppable. And yet, Celeste's story didn't begin here in that trunk. The deep horror is how young she was when she first crossed paths with David. The timeline will make everything that follows even harder to stomach. Celeste's family had been searching for her since April 2024. The last time they saw her, she was walking out the door to see a movie with her boyfriend, a boy she called David.
Her brother Matthew says on the day she disappeared, she was on her way to see a movie with her boyfriend, whose name was, you guessed it, say it with me, David.
She was just 13 years old. 13, you guys. And while investigators have never confirmed that this David was the same David whose Tesla would later hold her body, the timeline is impossible to ignore. LAPD themselves admit police really hate coincidences. Her brother remembered the gut punch of that day. He thought she'd be gone for a couple of hours, munching popcorn with a classmate or something, and instead she never came back. And here's where the outrage builds. This wasn't even the first time. According to reports, Celeste briefly went missing in February 2024 before returning home. A pattern was forming. A young girl leaving her family behind for a man whose name matched a star already climbing the charts. Think about it. In April 2024, David had just turned 19. Celeste had just turned 13. That's not a relationship, that's grooming. Even seasoned reporters stressed the danger of this age gap, and it may be even worse.
They may have actually connected when she was only 11.
That's what makes this story unbearable. Every parent who has ever heard this case feels the same chill. Celeste spent the last years of her life manipulated by a predator. And if this sounds like a one-off coincidence, just wait, because online sleuths dug deeper, and what they found in Discord chats and live stream leaks proves Celeste was deep in David's dark world long before she was found in that Tesla. The digital trail starts way earlier than anyone realized. All the way back in 2022, when Celeste was just 12, David popped into a Discord group and asked,
in the chat, he wrote, "Celeste in here?" to which someone named Celeste replied, "Hi, David."
Authorities noted this exchange sounded familiar, like this wasn't their first interaction. If it really was Celeste Rivas Hernandez, that means the connection began before she even hit middle school. Fast forward a year, and suddenly a demo track leaks online. Its title, Celeste. Nobody thought much of it at the time, but in hindsight, it reads like something else entirely. Then came January 2024. A live stream surfaces with a girl who looks almost exactly like Celeste.
There is this newly surfaced video that apparently shows David and Celeste together on a live stream interacting with fans.
At one point in the video, Celeste is heard telling David, "We need to delete this." David doesn't hesitate. He turns to moderators. "Can we delete all vids?" The stream disappears, deleted in real time, buried before outsiders could piece it together. But the internet never forgets. Not when investigators start digging. This is the part that makes fans sick. The cover-up was visible in plain sight. A leaked track with her name, a chat log with her handle, a live stream where she begged him to erase the evidence. Each moment was ignored and dismissed until she disappeared one last time. But there's one last piece of evidence uncovered online, one that made Celeste's family gag. In February 2024, a TikTok clip starts making the rounds, not from Celeste, but reposted by David himself. The video showed someone chopping up raw meat. On-screen text reads, "Me if I see her talk with other dudes." It plays like a joke, maybe a bad joke, but once you know what happened, it's so much worse. Because under that very post, a fan dropped the kind of comment that feels prophetic now.
Waiting for LAPD to get your ass for messing with a 13-year-old girl.
That's February, months before Celeste's body ever ended up in his trunk. Somebody already knew, or at least they saw the pattern. And instead of this being a warning sign, it just got buried under likes and scrolls. Think about the audacity. A grown man, nearly 19, reposting violent clips about a girl still in middle school while his fandom jokingly called him out for it. And yet, nobody stepped in. Now more TikToks are coming out and people are asking the same question. Was he trying to confess through memes the entire time? Look at this, David captioning this selfie, "I miss her," or his comment under that creepy TikTok video that somehow makes it all worse. Imagine we were two cannibals in the late 80s who randomly met and we fell in love and tried to be better and start a new life together, and then you died and I ate your bones and all. You guys, I'm speechless. There's another Discord post authorities uncovered showing a girl backstage with David and someone commenting, "Who's the girl?" And that's the thing. The internet had been screaming clues for months, maybe years, but when nobody listens, those clues stop being fan theories and start looking like evidence. And nowhere is that more disturbing than in his so-called art. By 2025, the warning signs weren't hidden in the comments anymore. They were center stage, dressed up as music videos. His track, One More Dance, dropped with visuals that showed a body being dragged, stuffed into a trunk, and left for dead. Sound familiar? It should, because that's exactly how Celeste's body was later discovered in his Tesla. Fans at first brushed it off as just another edgy creative choice, but when the context changed, suddenly every frame looked like a breadcrumb. And it didn't stop there. On his tour, his alter ego Itami appeared in blood-spattered shirts, singing besides a casket. Theatrics? Maybe. Or was it a public rehearsal for something darker? Was he mocking his fans for not calling him out yet? Legal analysts have weighed in on the lyrics that drove his rise, especially romantic homicide. He sings, "In the back of my mind, I killed you, and I didn't even regret it."
Forbes reports that Burke had said that those lyrics are figurative, saying, "I didn't kill her physically, but in the back of my mind, she died."
That's not just a metaphor anymore. Not when a real 14-year-old was found in the way she was, in his car. Every lyric, every prop, every interview is being reread through a new lens. Even merch like his blood-spattered tees suddenly feel less like marketing and more like a confession nobody took seriously until it was too late. And then detectives spotted something impossible to wave away. That tattoo stopped people cold. A teenage girl and a 20-year-old man carrying the exact same ink is not cute. For authorities, that's proof of grooming staring us right in the face. But if you thought that was shocking, wait until you hear what her own middle school teacher revealed. The internet was already buzzing with Discord chats and TikToks, but then a new voice joined the storm. Celeste's former teacher. In a TikTok video recorded by a student, he casually told his class that Celeste had once confided to classmates she met David online, ran away with him, and got pulled back by police. This was months before she disappeared for the last time. TMZ later confirmed the teacher wasn't exaggerating. Celeste's own family said she left home multiple times in 2024, each time linked to a boy named David. Her missing posters from April describe Hello Kitty sandals, the kind of detail only a child would cling to. By May, she was gone again. The teacher admitted he told this story as a cautionary tale about online predators. But in the context of her death, it's no longer just a warning. It reads like a timeline, a roadmap straight to the ending nobody wanted. So was Celeste's death already written long before she stepped into that Tesla? And just how close are investigators to uncovering David's dark motive for ending her life? Here's where the story takes an even darker turn. While LAPD was bagging evidence from his Hollywood Hills mansion, David's career was exploding. Streams for romantic homicide skyrocketed, putting him on the Billboard 200. His tragedy-fueled fame meant more clicks, more curiosity, and more people combing his lyrics for hidden meaning. It's the twisted economics of true crime colliding with pop culture. But what good is a rich man if he'll be behind bars forever? Because behind the clicks, the walls are closing in on him. Interscope and UMG froze his promotions. Hollister and Crocs scrubbed his face from their campaigns just days after announcing him as their ambassador. A scheduled Grammy Museum appearance vanished from the site. Even his deluxe Withered album release, hyped on Instagram, never hit streaming. For Celeste's family, watching his plays rise must feel like salt in the wound. Now they're hopeful there might be justice yet for their teenage daughter. But here's the part nobody can shake. That TikTok comment from early 2024, buried under a reposted meme about chopping meat, might have been the prophecy that seals his downfall. Everything we've seen so far paints a horrible picture. But the last piece of this puzzle isn't about social media clues or leaked songs. It's about what happens next in a courtroom. Because while fans are already calling this an open and shut case, prosecutors warn it's anything but. And the legal updates on David may be the most haunting twist yet. For all the evidence floating online, one fact remains. There are still 0 charges against David. He isn't under arrest, even with a body rotting in his Tesla and a timeline of red flags that keep growing uglier by the day.
In terms of the urgency to make an arrest, is there a public safety risk here? There doesn't appear to be. Is there a flight risk here? Apparently not.
That's LAPD's official line, but legal experts are blunt about why the brakes are still on. Analyst Brian Buckmeyer told Good Morning America, law enforcement does not yet have enough evidence to confront him, particularly without an autopsy report establishing cause and manner of death. In other words, suspicion isn't enough. Prosecutors need something concrete like a cause of death, a digital footprint that can't be denied, or a confession that isn't hidden in song lyrics. Without it, he walks free. And considering how Celeste was found in his trunk, it will be challenging to get a clear cause of death on a coroner's report. Meanwhile, online detectives and Celeste's loved ones are screaming the opposite. They point to everything we've already seen.
Waiting for LAPD to get your ass for messing with a 13-year-old girl.
As one retired detective told Law and Crime,
but certainly there's a lot of publicly available information that seems to point to the involvement of David Burke in the death of this child.
But proving it beyond a reasonable doubt, that's where the system hesitates. For Celeste's family, there's no hesitation. At her vigil in Lake Ellenshore, neighbors called her quiet, shy, just a sweet child. Her brother Matthew said she should have been blowing out candles with friends, not zipped into a coroner's bag. And that's the tragic paradox hanging over this case. A grieving family begging for justice, a fandom split between idolization and horror, and a singer whose biggest hit is now being replayed as potential evidence. So was Celeste's death the final consequence of a child being groomed in plain sight while the world mistook it for music? And will David even face the full consequences of what he's done, or ever admit to it?